Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanacharya Yamuna Tera Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Sata Srimad, His Divine Grace is Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Anandakari Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Namacharya Hridash Thakur ki, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Sri Gop Gopanasam Akun Radha Kundu Guru Govardhan ki, Sri Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki, Mayapur Navadip Dham ki, Sri Kshetrapuri Dham ki, Ayodhya Dham ki, Sri Ramchandra ki, Anandakari Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Iskan Guruvinda ki, Sri Sri Radha Giridhari ki, Sri Sri Gauranitai ki, Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaura Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
You know, that's too cold for you, Prabhu. You could open this door. But some fresh air is very nice. So you guys decide. I don't want anyone. I was going to say I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable, but that is the very nature of this place. But you can minimize it. All right, fire away. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Krishna Svadamo Bhagate Dhammiganadi Bisaha Kalaunasa Dashamesha Parano Kohonido Tata Narana Namaskrichanaram Chaivam Norotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It's arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should offer our respects to the personality of Godhead Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, the goddess of living Mother Saraswati, the author Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Let's try this. Yes. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. So we are going to chant, assuming I can find it, a verse from the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a summary of the pastimes of Lord Ram. And we're on, if you've got your devices, Canto 9, Chapter 10, and Text 8. Is that what's on the board? Yep. Oh, there you go. So let me get there. Ya Satya Pasha Parivita Pitur Nidesham Strainasya Chapi Shirasa Jagrihe Sabaya Rajam Shriyam Pranayana Suhrido Nivasam Tyaktva Yayao Vanam Asun Eva Muktasanga Yasatya Pasha Parivita Petur Nidesham Srainasya Chapi Shirasha Jagrihe Sabarya Rajam Shriyam Pranayina Suhrido Nivasam Tyaktva yayavanamasun iva mukta sangha. Yasatyapasya parivita pitur nidesham. Strainasya chapi shidasa jagrihe sabarya. Rajam shriyam praniyina surido nivasam. Tyaktva yayavanamasun niva mukta sangha. Yasatyapasya parivita pitur. Hare Krishna. Yasatyapasya pavita pitur nidisesam. Strainasya chapi shirasa jagrihe sabarya. Rajam shriyam praniyina surido nivasam. Tyaktva yayavanamasun niva mukta sangha. Yat satyapasa parita unisesam. Yasya chapi sirasa jagrasaya. Rajam shriyam pranina surido nivasam. Tyaktva yayavanamasun iva mukta sangha. Yasatyapasha pavitur vinesam. Rajam shriyam pranina surido nivasam. Tyaktva yayavanamasun iva mukta sangha. Yasatyapasha paritai piturunitesam. Strainasya chapi shirasa jagrihe sabarya. Rajam shriya pranayina surhido nivasam. Tyaktva yayavanamasun. Ya Lord Ramchandra who? Satyapasa. Oh, Parivita Pitu, of his father who was bound to the promise to his wife. Nidesham, the order. Strainasya, of the father who was very much attached to his wife. Cha, also. Api, indeed. Shirasa, on his head. Jagrihe, accepted. Sabarya, of his wife. Rajam, the kingdom. Shriyam, opulence. Pranayina, relatives. Suhrida, friends. Nivasam, residence. Tyaktva, giving up. Yayao, went. Vanam, to the forest. Asun, life. Iva, like. Mukta Sangha, a liberated soul. Before we read the translation, what is the schedule this evening? Correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that 5:30 to 6 is the Arti and Kirtan. Then from 6 to 6:30 is the kata, according to Dayanidhi. And then from 6 to 6:30, and then from 6:30 to 7, and probably a little longer, is the Abhishekam, because there's a lot of sponsors and everyone bathes. Is that correct?
I heard from Balaram that it was from 6 till 7 is the Abhishek, and then from 7 till about 7:40 is the talk.
Yeah, and that's too late because people will go home without prasadam. So we have conflicting views what to do. And do we know where Balaram is? Do we know where Dayanidhi is? Could someone, let's aside, Ram, can you find out what it is and we can announce it at the end of class so the people in the ether world and also the rest of us know what's up?
You want to know what's there on what we sent out?
Now that would be a novel concept.
5:30 to 6, RT your time. 6 to 6:30.
So can you use the microphone so that we can also hear?
The ever-present, like the super soul.
5:30 to 6 p.m., RT and Kirtan. 6 to 6:30 p.m., discourse on Lord Ram and Lord Jagannath. 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., Abhishek by congregation. 7:30 p.m., Prasadam feast to take away.
All right, so someone needs to inform Balaram lest he show up after the lecture. All right. So, translation. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramchandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residents, and everything else, just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita. Also, you say, carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramchandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residents, and everything else. Just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita. Purport. Maharaj Dasarath had 3 wives. One of them, Kaikeyi, served him very pleasingly, and he therefore wanted to give her a benediction. Kaikeyi, however, said that she would ask for the benediction when it was necessary. At the time of the coronation of Prince Ramchandra, Kaikeyi requested her husband, that's Dasarath, to enthrone her son Bharat and send Ramchandra to the forest. Maharaj Dasarath, being bound by his promise, ordered Ramchandra to go to the forest according to the dictation of his beloved. And the Lord, as an obedient son, accepted the order immediately. He left everything without hesitation, just as a liberated soul, a great yogi, gives up his life without material attraction. Om Ganata Ramdasya Gyanagana Salakaya Chakshushu Militangena Tasmade Shri Gurave Namaha. Now, Prabhupada says, and many acharyas say, that Lord Ramchandra, he's playing the role of an exemplary human being. Of course, an exemplary king, husband, so many things. But he's setting the example. And the core themes of the Ramayana are this duty, honor, and sacrifice. Duty, honor, and sacrifice. It is a foreign ethos to us raised in the West or in Kali Yuga. To give you an example, Dasarath, who lived for Lord Ram and was just elated that he was going to hand over the kingdom to noble Ram, all the citizens who were decorating and preparing for the coronation, decorating the city. But because he gave his word to his queen, he made a promise. He had to banish Ram. What happens if the leader of society, all we need to do is remember our last election cycle in America, if the leader lies? Don't they say there's false facts? What do they say? Fake news? I mean, can you say fake gravity? Can you say, Alternative facts is what alternative facts. A fact is a fact. 1 + 1 is 2. There's not German math and Chinese math and, gold is gold. There's not, So truth is truth. And if the leader, what is the verse in Gita? Whatever the leader does, a great person does, the whole world follows. They follow that example. So Dasara, it wasn't that he was just henpecked and attached to his wife and therefore he just, no. What could he do? He'd given his word. As a result, what happened to Dasarath when Lord Ram left? He died of separation. He literally lost his will to live in separation from Lord Ram. But he gave his word. Novel concept. You've got Lord Ram, of course, he could have, all the citizens who were with him, he could have ignored his father's request, said, well, the citizens are begging me. He could have said so many things. But what could he do? He was ordered by his father. He did his duty. There was a question of honor. There was a question of nobility. Not nobility as far as the station, in the royal order, but living a noble life, a virtuous life, an honorable life. Now we're going to talk about how this is not the mode of goodness in a minute, because everyone's saying, whatever. The devotees, they used to, true confession. On Gaur Purnim, 1974, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the florist did not deliver the flowers for decorating our little preaching center in Ann Arbor. So we had no flowers, and there was an initiation, so many things going on. So what did we do? What do you think we did in those days? When we had the ethos of pirates and gypsies. Huh? We liberated them, was our term. The old day was called a 5-finger discount. But we liberated the flowers and decorated the altar and the deities very nicely with beautiful roses. Now the curious factor, Krishna's arrangement, was that the lady whose garden we had liberated showed up for the Sunday feast. Never had come before, never saw her again, definitely never saw her again. And anyone who's a gardener, you put a lot of your heart into it, And she said, wait a minute, those are my roses, So it was an awkward moment. So how did we get off on that? But no, I got it. I'm just thinking how to say it. Thank you. We had the idea that, everything belongs to Krishna, and that's a fact. And everything should be used in Krishna's service. That's a fact. So you could make a case, which one of our brahmacharis tried to make to her, that actually you're very fortunate that we used your flowers and engaged them in Krishna's service, and you'll get great spiritual benefit from this, which didn't really win her over. But the point is that, what about, sarva dharma prityaja? You just give up all duty, all, other, marginal or material calculations of goodness and honor and all of that, and just surrender to Krishna. Okay, but we're going to get into that in a minute. That's the conundrum, or do we just, that's just, you know you're a material do-gooder. And that's, you know, I saw a devotee do this one time. There was a lady at the supermarket, and she picked up her groceries, and the bottom fell out of the bag. Now, he was a young man standing right there. But he didn't help her. Why? Because there was some canned chili or something in the bag, and he didn't want to, you know, facilitate her eating meat. Now, you know, I mean, I don't want to get too off the track, but to everyone watching, this young man would not help an old lady, and he was dressed as a devotee. It was a real, people thought, well, what kind of person is this, you know? That may not be the best example, and we'll give some examples in a moment, but the idea that we're allergic to, Krishna says in Gita, what is it, that sacrifice, charity, and austerity should never be given up. Because there's an argument there in the 18th, you know, is it mundane? Is it? And Krishna, because he says, my final conclusion is that it should never be given up. So somebody can Google it for me. What is the Boy Scout Code of Honor? Trustworthy, honest, clean. I used to know when I said. So are we advocating that? So I'll just leave you hanging there for a minute. But the thread of duty, honor, and sacrifice as the standard for human society, as manifest in the great personalities of the Ramayana. You've got, of course, Lord Ram. He didn't have to do what his father said. I mean, on one hand, everyone wanted him. He was the best of a king. But he gave his word. He honored it, and off he went to the forest. You've got Sita, of course. She could have said, you know, Ram could. Anyway, so many things. When Sita was kidnapped, Lord Ram, you know, can manifest unlimited goddess of fortune. Why, you know, fine, let Ravana have Sita. I'll just make a new Sita. But because he was her husband, he had a duty to do it. He has to protect his wife. Of course he did it. And Sita, she could have said, listen, you know, it's 14 years. I'm a princess, a pampered princess. I'm not going out to the forest. I'll see you when you get back. You know, send me a postcard. But whatever suffering her husband accepted, she accepted. Isn't it in the marriage vows, they in richer or poorer and health, and, you know, do they still say that? I don't. We hope you don't, now that I think about it. But no. So you have Sita. Whatever her husband accepted, she accepted. You've got Bharat, who was the younger brother, and he, you know, took over as the regent. But Bharat never sat on the throne, put Lord Ram's shoes on the throne, lived outside the city in a forest, wore clothing of bark, and only ate barley cooked in cow urine. For 14 years. I mean, first he tried to, when his father died, he went out to get Ram to come back. But incredible sacrifice and honor and duty. Who am I forgetting? You've got the citizens. The citizens of Ayodhya, they were giving up their houses. When Lord Ram was leaving, they all just followed him. Wherever you go, we're going. But how can you live in the forest? You're living in the forest. If you can do it, we can do it. They wouldn't give him up. I think Kaikeyi interceded and said, no, it's not a banishment if you go with him. So he had to go alone. That was her, you know, final twist of the knife. Vibhishana. Vibhishana was the brother of Ravana. He dedicated himself to advising and helping his brother. But when he saw that it was just impossible, he gave everything up. He didn't even know. It was unknown if Lord Ram was going to give him shelter. Just gave up everything. So there's so many, I mean, it's throughout the Bhagavatam. Lakshman. I mean, he didn't have to go to the forest. He could have fought and had the kingdom himself. Bharat would have given it to him. But his brother's going. He'd vowed to always serve his brother. Off he went too. So that theme of honor and duty and sacrifice. No, we'll save it for later. You can thank you, though. The point I wanted to make, of course, Hanuman, there's so many examples of Hanuman now that I think about it. Actually, everyone gave up looking for Sita. But Hanuman promised, I will not rest till we find out where she is after she'd been stolen by Ravan. And he's the only one. He stayed at it. And, you know, there's a whole, I don't want to go into the details of the whole story, but he's the one who found Sita. Got a hint from Jatayu. Jatayu gave up his life, you know, trying to protect Sita. And his last dying breath was, you know, they went that way with Ravan, you know. So this human form, because people are living, we are trained. It's a very shallow, what makes me happy? What's the time? Oh, geez. And we go, what makes me happy? That's the measure. You know, animals live stimulus response. And to actually sacrifice, to do one's duty, there has to be restraint. You know, like what they call it, a fail-safe mechanism. You know, there's a 5-minute time delay. If somebody says something stupid, they can delete it before it goes out on the airways, or I don't know how long, 60-second time delay or whatever it is. So we have so many impulses. Where's the restraint? Where's the time delay? Is that the right thing to do? Who benefits by this? So we've got a world and a culture and an ethos that it's just whatever makes me happy in the moment, whatever stimulates my senses, whatever I want. And here's the thing, it doesn't really make people happy. That's the irony of the thing. Oh, at least I got something out of it, you know? Before I forget, I wanted to say philosophy matters also. Well, you know, that's just armchair philosophy. From philosophy comes a worldview. And from a worldview comes value. Your values. And from values come our behavior. It's a sequence. I'll say it again. According to philosophy, it creates a worldview. There was a beer ad. And I forget what the beer, by the way, Prabhupada. You know, Prabhupada was offered a glass of beer when he was in college. And he went on a vacation. They went to Jagannath Puri, he and some of his friends. And Prabhupada was offered beer. And he looked at it, you know, that auburn color with the foam on top, you know. What lager, what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. Ale, whatever it was. Prabhupada's conclusion was, he smelled it, he looked at it and said, this smells and looks like cow urine. Horse urine. Even worse than cow urine. So why would I want to drink horse urine, you know? So, I know what it is too, but I'm going to say it. Yeah, the beer motto is, you only go around once in life, so get all the gusto you can. Get all the gusto you can. You only go around once in life. Well, hang on a minute. What if you don't only go around once in life? There's that hunter, and I forget where it's from. Maybe it's from one of the Puranas, but there's the hunter who's killing all these animals, and I believe he's stopped by Narada. Maybe it's Magrari, but I'm not sure. But he's stopped by Narada, and Narada says, why are you doing this? He says, well, I'm doing it for my family. He said, but don't you understand you're stacking up piles of sinful activities? You know, who's going to share those sinful activities? You're killing for your family. Is your family going to take on those sinful activities? And doesn't he goes back and asks? The hunter goes back and asks his family. The family says, no way, I'm not taking the sinful reaction for that. So, I mean, Christians have an idea that if I don't act piously, I'm going to go to hell. You know, flames, it's stay hydrated, you know. It's not, you know, so it's fear. It's not love that's motivating them. And you've got the, you know, people who understand next life. They understand, you know, why is it you find someone rolling on, you know, no arms and no legs playing a harmonica in Calcutta? You think, what did that person do to wind up in such, you know, rolling in the street? I've seen it. You think, geez, what happened? What, you know, they took a wrong turn somewhere. So, okay, there's a fear of karma. So those are act piously because of fear, you know, that you're going to go to hell or you're going to be born in Calcutta with no arms and legs. But being scared or being afraid, and therefore you act piously, that doesn't actually satisfy. And acting to get whatever you want doesn't actually bring satisfaction. We have, and it's a big psychological issue. You know, pharmaceuticals is one of the biggest industries in the world. And you know the top 2 types of pharmaceuticals? You would think, well, maybe it's cancer, maybe it's antibiotics, maybe it's those would make sense. Anyone know other than Dravida? What those? Indigestion. Oh, ulcers. But it's actually antidepressants and no, like Xanax and you know whatever that is to you know to. One is to jack you up, and the other one is to calm you down. Yeah. So the point is that although people are becoming more and more self-centered and more, I mean, they'll kill a baby in the womb. I mean, it's just inconceivable. So many different, it doesn't work. You've got, when it appears that they were sacrificing, but living a life of honor, of sacrifice, of duty, that actually gives one a sense of fulfillment. They measured. Somebody who said, I think it was, anyway, I think Guru Prasad Swami or someone sent it to me. But there was a survey of what motivates people in the corporate world. And in the beginning, it's, you know, it's pay. And you get paid more and more, and then they got to give you, when there's a certain saturation point with that after you've, you know, got your house and your car and whatever it is, you know. So then they give you some prestige perks. You get to use executive elevator, you get to use the executive bathroom, you get, I don't know what, whatever they give you, you know, corner office. But that also hits a saturation point. You know what actually motivates people the most after they've got the basics in the bag? Time off. Yeah, it's not bad. They actually don't like it. No, but anyway, Prabhupada studied economics in college, and need was the prime motivation for work. So as soon as you remove need, people, generally speaking, don't really like to work so much, you know. But what they've studied, no, what actually motivates people the most is a sense that they're doing something valuable, that they're part of something bigger. That's actually what motivates people. So when you've got a culture that is offering you little tidbits of self-centered stimulation, it's hollow, it's shallow. And that's why they're, you know, going for the intoxication, or why they're going for whatever they're trying to do. Because there's a hole. They're not that the actual sense of self-worth and fulfillment, it's not being satisfied. So when you have a society, when people act honorably, when they sacrifice, when they do their duty, that is an individual satisfaction. The individuals who are, like we're seeing an example of the Ramayana, that's the point of this verse, that how Dasarath did his duty, honored his promise, Sita did her duty, Ram did his duty. And when you have a society like that, of course, they're all transcendental personalities, but when the individual becomes satisfied and the society becomes satisfied. Otherwise, it just becomes dog eat dog, every man, every woman for themselves. And that's what we've got now. And people are completely shallow and hollow and anxiety and frustrated. Now, because of the time factor, I guess I'll do this, because I promised I'd say something about the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Are we just talking about motive goodness and what's it got to do with us because we're transcendental? We're beyond Varnashram Dharma. You know Prabhupada's famous answer when devotees said, why do we need to worry about Varnashram Dharma? We're engaged in devotional service. Daivi Varnashram. We don't need to worry about acting in the mode of goodness. You know what Prabhupada's answer was? Anyone know? We're beyond. Yeah, Prabhupada said, then why are you falling down? If we don't need that support system of acting honorably, of keeping our word, that a vow means something. I'm going to do something, I actually do it. And a sense of duty. Today's my Sankirtan day. I don't feel like it. Well, I know I said I was going to, take up Pujari service. But, I don't really want to do that. Whatever it is, I was married to this woman, but she's a devotee. I'm a devotee, but it's a hassle. That other one's cuter and younger. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said about his disciples, I pray that they will become tinged with the mode of passion. What? How is that possible? Tinged by the mode? You notice he didn't say absorbed. He didn't say swept away. But the passion to get something done and not just sit in a temple and ring bells and have a little rice and, that's all fine, well and good. I'm reading Shastra, I'm chanting japa, that's all well and good. But he wanted to get something done. He wanted to spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And he was hoping they'd get a little fire under them and get going. That's why he said, tinged, not absorbed, but tinged by the mode of passion. In a similar fashion, and I guess it's time to read these verses. There's this is Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. And we're talking about the necessity of purified goodness in our life. We're not talking about, you'll understand, hopefully. So this is 18th chapter, text 26. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be the worker in the mode of goodness. Sudasattva, purified goodness. Verse 37, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization. Note that. Acting, doing duty, acting, with honor, acting with sacrifice for the benefit of others. Lo and behold, Krishna himself says, awakens one to self-realization. We're not beyond these things. We can't just break our word. We can't just break our promise. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Partha. That is my final opinion. So these are all from Gita and from Krishna. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome, it's a hassle, or out of fear of bodily discomfort, it's too cold, too hot, I don't want to, it's too hot in the kitchen, whatever it may be, is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to elevation. Prabhupada said, so those are just a few that doing our duty, taking responsibility, standing up, putting aside the ethos that we're trained in since day one, First thing they do is slap you on the rear and, then you suckle your mother's breast. Pain and relief, pain and relief. Stimulus response, stimulus response. And it's drummed into us. So, to put a sharper point on it, Prabhupada said that as I want, anyone know Prabhupada said if you start a sentence with I want, where you should say it? In the closet. I want. What was the whole principle of Bhagavad Gita? What was the nub of the issue? Krishna wanted something, and Arjuna said no. Prabhupada said the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita was to turn Arjuna from a no man into a yes man. And we think yes man is but that was the whole point. That's the whole point of Bhagavad Gita. So if we say, well, I don't really want to do that. Oh, we need a pujari, we need a cook, we need someone to be a leader on Sankirtan, we need someone that, hey, we need I don't really want to do that. Well then, have you read the 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita, verse 64? I missed that one. So, the Srila Prabhupada wrote to me personally, 1971. Even while we may not like to do the work, if we work very hard for Krishna, soon we will lose our attachment and become satisfied just to be serving Krishna. I'm going to read that again. Even we may not like to do the work. If we work very hard for Krishna, just throw our heart into it and just do it. Soon we lose our attachment and become satisfied just to be serving Krishna. Currently, we experience happiness if our senses are stimulated. The senses, in touch with their sense objects, ching ching equals happiness. And therefore, we are always trying to find circumstances that make us happy. I don't want to, what? I got to do this and then, I'm going on traveling Sankirtan. Nobody tell me what to do. I'm going traveling Sankirtan. Then you go on traveling Sankirtan and you got a Sankirtan leader saying, hey, come on, man, step it up. That's too much a hassle. I'm going to another temple. I mean, it happens all the time. We had a devotee. We had a temple in Ann Arbor, we had a temple in Chicago, and we had a temple in Detroit. And the guy just revolved around for the three temples. When he got mad at this temple president, he'd leave Ann Arbor, he'd go to Detroit. And then he was in Detroit. And they'd ask him, hey, we need a cook. He'd go to Chicago. Chicago, they'd figure, wait, this guy's he's just eating. He's not doing anything. Hey, Prabhu, come on. And he just kept moving. And he had it in a cycle till everybody kind of figured out and said, hey, wait a minute, my friend. It's not the banquet circuit. But here's the thing. It's enlightened self-interest. Right now, I measure my happiness if my senses come in contact with circumstances that please me. And that I call happiness. Senses are agitated, circumstance satisfies it, that's happiness. But if your happiness is based on circumstances, let me ask you this. What is the nature of this material world? Is it a stable place? Ever-changing, constantly mutable. It's always moving, just like you were saying. It's always changing and it's always shifting. That is the very nature of the place. It's always shifting. Anyone want to argue that point? It's always changing. If our happiness depends on me finding the right conditions and fixing them, hey, hit the freeze button, lock it in, is that going to happen? It's the nature of the place. So if our happiness depends on circumstances, particular set of circumstances, and circumstances inevitably, irrevocably are changing, what does that say about our happiness? It's always changing. You can never hold on to it. You're constantly chasing either your hankering that it's gone, you're hankering for it, Oh, if only I get, I work hard, I'm going to stack it all up, push it all in the right place, Botox, whatever it is, mash it all together. But you're going to leave. It's going to change, inevitably. So you're either hankering or lamenting. So a society and a personal ethos based on me being happy, I want, is never going to make us happy. That's the point. The point is, we're not discounting, we're not men in black muttering no, that we just want you to be miserable. I'm miserable, I'm repressed, I'm miserable, so I want you to be miserable too. Misery loves company. Therefore, I'm saying the celibate, that don't do this and don't do that. And no, that's not what's happening at all. What's actually happening is that the sadhus and the saints and Shastra are saying, that's never going to work out for you. You want happiness. We want you to be happy. We're not at odds here. You want to be happy? And what kind of happiness do you want? Do you want this flickering happiness that's always shifting? Therefore, woven into your happiness is angst. You're always wondering when the wrecking ball is going to come through the window. That's not happiness. If you always got to be in anxiety. Suppose I had, Amoga sitting there thinking about 50 things. Suppose I had a little something that zzz, zzz, gave him a zap. And he knew that I had it. I got it right here with a big button. And every time he starts to nod off, zzz, what? He wasn't nodding off in class. I'm just using you as an example. But, I mean, would anybody relax? That if you knew that every time you, it's like Chinese torture, isn't it? Every time you try to go to sleep, zzz, jeez, you'd be a nervous wreck in 24 hours. But that's what's happening. We're trying to settle into a comfortable place. Zzz, it's always shifting and changing. But guess what? As Prabhupada wrote to me personally and says it repeatedly, if our happiness is, I simply want to please Krishna. I don't care. What I'm doing doesn't matter. Beautiful, sweet, merciful, transcendental Krishna. Whatever rasa you're in, you just want to please him. Even better, please Srimati Radharani. Please your spiritual master. And it's, what does Krishna say? Patram pushpam palam tvayam. Is it hard to get a leaf, a flower, a fruit? That lady probably would have given us her roses if we'd asked for them. It's for our church. Can we have a few roses? Yeah, go ahead, take a few. Instead of, anyway. So the point I'm trying to make is that actually doing our duty in the service of Krishna, doing that sense of commitment, like I said, being part of something bigger. You often hear Vaishnavas, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, they talk about their Ishta Dev. They're talking about the Lord in their heart. They've got a particular deity. You've got Rupa Goswami and Govinda Dev. You've got Madan Mohan and Sanatan Goswami. You've got Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Radha Raman. They love their deities. That was the Lord of their life. We've got beautiful Radha Giridhari standing right there. Couldn't ask for a more beautiful form. So, and it doesn't matter what you do for Krishna, for Radha Giridhari. That sense that, hey, Prabhupada Premarnava happened to be in a black body. Prabhupada had big visions for the Detroit temple when he got that Devasadan Mandir. It's off the track, but it's just kind of fun. It was in a bad neighborhood, the beautiful Detroit temple. And Ambarish and Govardhan was the temple president. Govardhan liked the building, but they didn't like the neighborhood. And so, but Prabhupada liked it. Prabhupada said, every room is worth the price this man is asking. And Prabhupada said, get it. And the night before, Ambarish and Govardhan went to Prabhupada and they said, but Prabhupada, there's thieves, there's this, there's that. Prabhupada said, when the thief comes, Prabhupada said, but you've got walls around it. You know, it's a beautiful compound. The devotee said, well, they'll climb over the wall. Prabhupada said, when they climb over the wall, first thing you say is, stop. Then you tell them, take this philosophy. Take this chanting. Take this prasadam. And then Prabhupada said, and then tell them, take whatever they like. And Prabhupada wanted that building, and he wasn't going to listen to it. Lo and behold, after we bought the building, we found out 6 months later that the city had purchased all the land around it for redevelopment, and it became a high-end prime area in Detroit. Yeah, gentrified, whatever, is that what they call it? Yeah. I mean, you know, Prabhupada's in touch with you. I'm not going to argue with him. But the point is that, what was I going to say? But the, huh? Oh, thank you very much. Premarnava was in Detroit. And Prabhupada wanted, and he was a fantastic, I think he's passed away, Premarnava. He was a fantastic kirtan leader. It's like Agnidev, same league as Agnidev. And Prabhupada wanted him to get a truck, a flatbed truck, with speakers, decorate with a nice pandal tent, and drive all through Detroit with kirtan on that flatbed truck. And they could stop, have kirtan, pass out prasadam, invitations to the temple. And then Prabhupada was profoundly practical. Prabhupada said, just hold the festivals in the spring and in the summer, hold all the festivals outside. You can have all the pandal tents, distribute, you think they're going to steal everything. You do it outside. And then you just have rope, you know how they do with a rope line, and they can come in for darshan, come into the temple for darshan and go back, and you have the whole program outside. You know, Prabhupada was totally into it. How to save Detroit. Premarnava didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it. He didn't want to stay in Detroit. What happened is Prabhupada was traveling, in the summertime Prabhupada would travel, he was going down the East Coast. And so Premarnava was following, you know, kirtans and Prabhupada's lectures, and, you know, it was a lot of fun. So he was just, although Prabhupada said, stay in Detroit, he didn't do it. He followed him. And he got all the way from, you know, from Boston to New York to Philadelphia. He got all the way down to Washington, D.C. And Prabhupada had, you know, he'd stay in the back behind a pillar, pulled it off, right? Prabhupada was supposed to be out in his garden in Washington, D.C., Potomac. Wherever Prabhupada went, they painted everything, you know. So wherever Prabhupada went. So in Prabhupada's darshan room, they just painted it, and the window was stuck. So Prabhupada had said, it's giving me a headache, you know, can we open the windows and get some fresh air in here? So they thought Prabhupada was out. And Brahmananda was trying to get the window open, couldn't get the window open. Premarnava walked by. So Premarnava was a strong guy. He said, hey, help me, you know. And they were trying to get the window, you know, knife around the thing, break the pin. So they're struggling. As they're standing at the window struggling, Prabhupada walked in. There's Premarnava. He had his back to Prabhupada, trying to get, and he just kind of sidled along the wall. The room was filling up with, and he'd made it to the door. He thought, oh man, I'm going to get out of here before. And just as he was walking out the door, Prabhupada said, Premarnava. He was totally busted. He said, why are you here? He said, well, Prabhupada said, how will this movement go on? He said, I need devotees who will sit down tight and develop. Sit down in one place and develop. Doesn't mean you can't travel. Doesn't mean you don't go to India. Doesn't mean you don't go on pilgrimage. Doesn't mean you don't visit other temples. Doesn't mean you don't go on traveling Sankirtan. His little brain just snaps. Ah! But if we do our duty to develop a place with our Ishtadev, and this is my community, this is my temple, these are my devotees that I'm serving, these are my deities, lo and behold, what happens? You lose your attachment for a particular type of work. That, oh, I've got to be in this weather or in this place, or it has to please my senses. And you become simply satisfied serving Krishna. And lo and behold, you know what happens? You become happy anywhere. Anywhere. You don't need any facility. You don't need any special anything. and you're simply, you pick a few fruits and flowers, you offer. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami was keeping Madan Mohan in a tree. You couldn't even offer him salt. Anyone know how Madan Mohan temple was built? We're going to end here, but anyone know how Madan Mohan temple was built? Who built Madan Mohan temple? A salt merchant. It's a whole, his boat got stuck. They gave him some signals, so he got his boat free, went down to Agra, sold everything, came back and built Madan Mohan temple. So Sanatana Goswami, you want me to write these books? You know, if you want a little salt, next thing you want chapatis, next time you want some rice and dal to go with it. I'll do whatever you want. But if you want the books, I got to just focus on the books. So Krishna said, all right. And he just gave him this little dry, what are those things? No, round ball and baked in the fire. I forget the name. Especially in Vrindavan, they make them. Without even any salt. But Krishna said he was so appreciative of Sanatana Goswami's dedication and Krishna's sense of humor and beautiful Shakespearean Leela. He got a salt merchant to build the temple. So give me 2 minutes, 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. So the point I'm trying to make is as we learn from the Ramayana and dedication to duty and sacrifice and honor, it creates a Vaishnava society where every individual has a sense of worth and a sense of satisfaction, and we become happy in any situation. It's not that you just grit your teeth and bear it and just, okay, when I drop dead, I'll go back to Vaikuntha. That's not what's happening at all. One becomes happy in every condition. And if you chase after I like this circumstance, I like this condition, you're never going to be happy. Okay, we'll end there. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.